What's going on, everybody? You were watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we got some big-time injury news on the Minnesota Vikings front and the Philadelphia Eagles front heading into this Week 7 matchup between two of the better teams in the NFC. We also got some sweet quotes from J.J. McCarthy as he spoke to media today, so stay tuned for that. But we're going to start off with some great news here for some Vikings fans. Andrew Van Ginkel was actually seen back at practice Wednesday per Alec Lewis. He was dealing with this neck injury, and Kevin O'Connell said earlier on this week that he was going to be working off to the side, so I didn't really think there was a good chance of AVG playing, but after this update, I definitely think it's on the table, which will be huge, because as we know, the Vikings defense, one of the top units in the National Football League, but they do struggle against the run. Now, the biggest reason for their struggles against the run this season, I think it's just because these two haven't been out there, Andrew Van Ginkel and Blake Cashman. Now, Blake Cashman should be back out there this weekend, but Andrew Van Ginkel would be the kicker here. If you could somehow get AVG back, the most versatile defender in the National Football League, the perfect fit with the Brian Flores scheme, that should help the Vikings be a lot better than what they have been this season against the run, where they've just been, flat out horrible. Now, teams are running the ball a whole lot on the Vikings, almost about 50% of the plays. Vikes are giving up 4.5 yards per carry, which is 22nd in the league, and they're also almost running the ball 30 times a game, and they're giving up 132.2 yards per game on the ground, which is 24th in the league. So obviously this is a massive issue, but more specifically for this game against the Philadelphia Eagles, where they are one of the better rushing teams in the league, even though they haven't shown it so far this season, but they still have the potential to walk into a building and run for over 250 yards as a team. And this guy right here still scares me, Saquon Barkley. Even though his numbers do not look the same compared to where he was last season, this guy's still got juice. Now, obviously, him coming off a heavy usage season, he has taken a slight step back, but I think most of the Eagles' struggles running the football this season can be chalked up to the offensive line. Like, this guy, it's not like Space Jam, like they took all of his powers away for whatever reason. Like, this guy still has a ton of juice, so you cannot let Saquon Barkley get right. If the Eagles win this football game, if they walk into U.S. Bank Stadium and get that victory, it will be because of Saquon Barkley. So I expect the Vikings early down to be super, super aggressive, have Jalen Hurts beat them over the top, and you got to slap this guy right here, Saquon Barkley. But I'll ask you guys this. Are you concerned about the Vikings' rush defense? Now, do you just chalk it up kind of like I do, the Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman not being in the fold? Or are you just concerned across the board? You guys let me know your thoughts. Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. Let me know your thoughts if you're concerned about the Vikings' run defense. All right, let's talk about the quarterback position here. Obviously, a massive storyline around the Minnesota Vikings heading into this game. Now, Alec Lewis tweeting this out, saying both J.J. McCarthy dealing with that ankle, Carson Wentz dealing with that non-throwing shoulder injury. They were both out there taking snaps and throwing the football. Now, KOC said earlier yesterday that both these guys will be getting reps with the first team. It almost seems like this is just a 50% chance J.J. plays, a 50% chance that Carson Wentz plays, but JJ also had some comments of his own. This was coming in from Kevin Seifert, saying the biggest takeaway from JJ McCarthy's presser is that he acknowledges that his right ankle is not 100% yet. He also said he received a recovery time frame via second opinions of up to 6 weeks. Not great signs for him playing this week. Now, we initially got the report that it should be a 2 to 4 week high ankle sprain recovery timeline, but JJ got a second opinion. Now it's looking like more the 4 to 6 weeks, and he is exactly 4 weeks removed from that injury. So obviously his status is up in the air, but JJ McCarthy also gave his comments saying it's getting there, talking about the high ankle sprain. He said, I wouldn't say it's 100%. We've got to be smart and understand there's a lot of things that go on. I'm just going to do what I'm told and try to get better. Selfishly, I want to play, but we have to be smart here. Now, I would be very pleasantly surprised if J.J. McCarthy is out there for the purple and gold this weekend. I still think it's more likely than not going to be Carson Wentz, but, also at the same time, there's a chance that J.J. McCarthy plays. Obviously the Vikings, that coaching staff, that brass, they want McCarthy out there, but they're not going to force the issue too much because if he can't plant off that ankle, if he can't get full velocity, if his lower body can't be connected to his upper body when throwing the football, they're just going to go back to Carson Wentz, where also Carson Wentz today said he was feeling pretty good, obviously dealing with a lot of soreness in that left shoulder. But I still think if this was like a playoff game, for example, both those guys would be available to go. It just depends who is closer to 100%. But one funny comment that JJ made during his press conference today, he was talking about his kid being born, and KOC actually mentioned earlier on yesterday that J.J. McCarthy, he only had an hour and 20 minutes of practice before the Falcons game, so clearly he wasn't fully ready to go. And this is what JJ said, saying, hopefully we can plan things out better next time and go for baby number 2 in the offseason. I agree with that, JJ. That would be fantastic. That would, definitely make your week of practice a lot more manageable instead of, this kid being 22 years old, having his second career start. You're having a kid, becoming a father for the first time. Like, there was just a lot riding against him. So hopefully he does plan that out better in the future. But some more positive injury news on the Vikings front here. These 3 were seen at practice. Brian O'Neill dealing with that knee injury, which I will say, it is freaky that he is already back. He had that sprained MCL, which I thought was going to rule him out for potentially 4 to 6 weeks. But, he obviously got hurt in week 4, and now he's going to be ready to go, hopefully, for week 7. And then Donovan Jackson doing with that wrist, he'll be ready to go. Blake Cashman doing with that hamstring, he will be ready to go because the Vikings are expected to elevate Blake Cashman to the active roster before Sunday, which we obviously know is so huge. He wears that green dot. He's an elite communicator. Like Blake Cashman, I still believe he is one of the most underrated defenders in the National Football League right now. I mean, this guy, he is so important for this defense because not only does he make everybody else around him better, but he specifically makes a guy like Ivan Pace a whole lot better, where Ivan Pace, he's a one-trick pony. He's a bowling ball out there, and he just wants to, find the ball, whether that's, attacking the ball carrier or just going on a linebacker blitz trying to get the quarterback. But when Cashman's not out there, you cause Ivan Pace to expand his role, which obviously we know Pace is more successful in a condensed role. So I can't wait to have Blake Cashman back. This guy's just an absolute stud, and battling back from the hamstring injury, I think they proceeded on the side of caution, putting him on short-term IR. I'm sure he maybe could have forced the issue, been back out there across the pond, but the Vikings were playing it smart here. But I'm fired up to see Blake Cashman back out there, and if you guys are as well, type his jersey number, type those 51s down below in the comment section. And we'll talk about the Eagles injury news here in a second. Jalen Carter, Quinyon Mitchell, and Landon Dickerson. It's actually looking like all these guys may go, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But I got to give a massive shout out to today's presenting sponsor, that being PrizePicks. Now, you and I, we make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. And if you guys download the PrizePicks app today, plug in promo code CLNS. We'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, PrizePicks is the only app now that offers stacks, meaning you can pick up to the same player 3 times in the same lineup. So, for example, if you want to pick more on Justin Jefferson's receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns, now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. And also another cool feature they just dropped is they have a new feed tab where you guys can follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app, copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, celebrity, or someone whose picks you like. Just hit that follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks app today. Give it a shot. I use it almost every single week anytime I'm watching football, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever it is. And if you guys plug in promo code CLNS, we'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, that is promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. So Eagles fans got some great injury news today as these 3 guys were all back at practice in a bit of a shocking fashion. Did not expect Landon Dickerson to be out there. Same with Quinyon Mitchell. Now, Jalen Carter, I think the biggest reason why he missed that Thursday game last week against the Giants was just because of the turf at MetLife. But all 3 of these guys were back out there, and Jalen Carter actually said after practice today, saying he'll play. So that is a huge addition to this Eagles defense. Jalen Carter, if there was a draft of every defensive player probably under the age of 25, Jalen Carter might be the number 1 overall pick. It would probably be him, Jared Verse, Abdul Carter, one of those 3 guys. But this guy's an absolute game wrecker. He is one of the best defensive tackles in the league. He causes havoc. He's great against the run. He's great at getting interior pressure. And he's just a matchup nightmare. Also considering the Vikings center position, are you rolling out Blake Brandel? Are you rolling out Michael Juergens? Either way, that's a mismatch for the Vikings offensive line. So hopefully having Donovan Jackson back, Will Fries is going to have a big game just to manage that mammoth of a human being on the interior of the Eagles defensive line. So that's some good news for Eagles fans. And then also this, Vic Fangio was asked who's going to start potentially next to Quinyon Mitchell if he does go. And he said right now it's probably Adoree Jackson because obviously Ringo and Adoree, 2 of the worst corners in the league right now. So he was hinting at that it will be Adoree Jackson if obviously Quinyon Mitchell does end up playing. So those would be the 2 corners for the Philadelphia Eagles this week. But either way, this is a mismatch for the Vikings offense. It doesn't matter who the Vikings are playing. It doesn't matter who they're going against. They have the advantage on the perimeter every single week because of these guys, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I really do believe Jordan Addison's got a big-time chance to have a big-time game. Obviously Jefferson, it doesn't matter who's at corner. They're going to give him 4 eyeballs, 6 eyeballs any given play. So that should allow Jordan Addison to have a lot of one-on-one opportunities. And with the Eagles' second corner being Adoree Jackson, I could see Jordan Addison being the MVP of this game. This guy is an absolute stud. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the National Football League. He's a great route runner. He's got great hands. He can do it all at the wide receiver position. And we really saw, especially last year, like when that Vikings offense took that next step, because remember they were playing all those AFC South opponents. It was like the Colts, Jags, and Titans, and the Jags and Titans game on the road. The Vikings offense struggled, and we were even having the conversation like if J.J. McCarthy was healthy, and this was also week 7, week 8, would he end up starting because of how bad the offense was playing? But then once they got number 3 the football more, this offense hit another level. Like he truly is, I believe, one of the biggest X factors out of any offense in the NFL, because then that doesn't allow teams to, fully focus in on Jefferson. And I always go back to the Bears game last year in Chicago, where Jefferson only had 2 receptions for 27 yards. Bears were giving him a safety over top, shading a linebacker his way. But what that allowed Jordan Addison to do, he had 150 and 2 touchdowns. TJ Hawkinson had 7 receptions for 104 yards. So that just kind of speaks to the impact this guy has, whether he's getting the ball, whether he's not. He's just making a positive impact on the game every single week for the Vikings offense. So this is going to be a big-time matchup. Eagles-Vikings in U.S. Bank Stadium. Still have no official word on who's the starting quarterback for this football team, but they got a good chance to win. Eagles right now are 1-point favorites in this matchup. I think the Vikings are going to win this one 23-20, no matter who's in that quarterback. You got advantage on the perimeter, and I think the story of the game will be Brian Flores and that defense. They're going to have to dominate. They're going to have a big-time performance because, they're the only – for sure thing, I think, on this Vikings team. Like, I guarantee you the Vikings defense will show up. Offensively, who the hell knows? Because Wentz and JJ, they're so, polarizing in their games where they just have a lot of ups and downs and all that. But the Vikings defense should show up, especially if you're getting AVG back. You're getting Cashman back. The Eagles offense, there's a bit of drama around that football team right now. So I'm very excited for this game. But you guys let me know who you got. Give me a V for the Vikings. Give me an E for the Eagles. And make sure you guys hit that subscribe button on your way out. And as always, appreciate all of you guys for watching. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.